Okay.
Hello, everybody. It's
Love
Tom,
it, Tom.
the Royalist, here with my sister Plum Sykes, top fashion journalist, with an incredible Christmas special. There you should be. Plum, is that the ringing of sleigh bells? Could Santa be on his way?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready for Santa, actually.
Well, Santa
I've got
came
all the
early.
Christmas presents done, the tree up. I'm done. I'm ready. I know it's only December the 8th or something, but
Well, it looks fabulous. And of course, Plum Sykes is the author of the Substack PS by Plum Sykes, which had a really good list of Christmas specials in a recent post that Plum did. If you're looking for some Plum Sykes style inspiration, I particularly like the look of the fancy, expensive butter dish, Plum. I thought that looked like very, very, very chic indeed. So
no, it's okay. I can hear you now, Tom.
Okay, great. So, okay, we seem to have had a little bit of a connection issue joining with the Wi-Fi. So let's just check that everything's okay. So hope you're all with us here. I'll just start again. So we're here with Plum Sykes for our Christmas special about Catherine's fashion last week. So Catherine had a high-profile week last week, two big, quite Christmassy events. One was a state reception for the president of Germany, and the other was her Together at Christmas carol service, which has become like an annual fixture that she now does every year. And Plum is going to talk us through those fashion moments. So we've got some pictures to show you. So Ben, our producer, is in the background. Ben, this is Catherine waiting for the arrival of the German president, the first thing that happened last week. Plum, what is Catherine wearing here? I mean, she obviously doesn't release the names of the designers anymore, but tell us a bit about the look here and what is telegraphing aesthetically.
We can tell. Yeah, so we can tell what she's wearing. So she's actually wearing a blue coat, or you might call it coat dress. It's a coat/coat dress designed by Alexander McQueen, but it was obviously designed by Sarah Burton. Now, Sarah Burton has left Alexander McQueen now, and she's gone to Givenchy. So this is an older piece that I think she's worn before. And that's something I really like about Kate, is she recycles. She wears it again. She's very British. She doesn't waste. She's got a thriftiness about her as a princess, a bit like the Queen had. Do you know what I mean? Where you don't always expect to see her in a new outfit. And I think it's brilliant that she isn't like red carpeting it and always, trying to get attention for her clothes. And then underneath, she's wearing just a dark dress by Burberry, which is obviously fabulous British label. Gorgeous blue gloves. I think the blue gloves are absolutely key. I think that the hat is Philip Treacy. I'm not completely sure, or it could be Stephen Jones. And then it looks to me like she's got a sapphire brooch on and sapphire earrings, which are impeccable. I mean, her jewelry is obviously phenomenal. No one can really compare. And look, here we've got Camilla channeling the late Queen, head to toe in bright blue. Because the late Queen, she was famously always wore one color, and it was often a bright color. I don't think you'd see Kate, who is so chic, wearing like a marine blue like that head to toe. But I think they both look brilliant.
Yeah, and it's interesting. So this is that photo is obviously the arrivals earlier in the day. So we've got Catherine and William. We've got the King and Queen and the German president and his wife, I assume, being greeted there, posing for the official photo. So this is the kind of more formal part of the day. It's a bit more dialed down. Then later in the evening, we have the state dinner. Now, of course, we saw with the state dinner for Donald Trump that me and you did a live at that time, Plum, and we saw Catherine wearing this sort of show-stopping gown on that occasion. And here she is again, going into the state dinner. And I think it kind of slightly caught people by surprise, actually, that evening, that she looked perhaps even more fabulous than she did for the American state dinner.
Well, you know what's interesting? So to me, this dress is like Frozen, you know, Elsa, Let It Go. Do you know what I mean? It's very Christmassy. It's very wintry. Personally, I think the dress for the Donald Trump dinner was more magical because it was more traditional and royal. But I think that this, with like the long sleeves, you know, very Rapunzel, it's very fairy tale. It's really telegraphing, you know, I am royal, I am a princess, I am the dream. And it's by Jenny Packham, who's a British designer. She's very famous for her beaded creations and evening dresses. She really just makes evening dresses and wedding gowns. And as you can see, it's got this amazing asymmetric neckline, which is incredibly flattering. It's got these sort of long, almost like cape sleeves. And the color, which I would describe as sort of a misty lilac, is really, really exquisite. I mean, that would be a custom made piece. I don't think you'd be able to walk into the shop and buy that. I may be wrong. Maybe one of the viewers will tell me I'm wrong. I don't know. But she looks amazing. And then the tiara is the historic Oriental circlet tiara. It was originally Queen Victoria's, 1853. This is the first time that tiara has been worn in 20 years. Now, of course, remember that Victoria, you can tell me about this, her husband Albert was German.
Right. Good. Yes. Very good point. And
so I think there's a reference going back to, you know, the German roots of the royal family, because remember, they changed their name from, Tom, tell me what their name was before they became Windsor.
They certainly something did, like, and they Saxe-Coburg Gotha, and they reinvented themselves as the Windsors, of course. What was also really interesting about this appearance was that it was for me, it was very much positioning them in the role of king and queen in waiting in a I think more overt way than we've seen before. And I think one thing that actually made that very clear, I'm sorry, I forgot to put my phone on silent. Just excuse me for 1 second while I do that. One thing that I think made that very clear was that they released an official portrait before the event itself. So if you look at that portrait, that is taken in Frogmore House, which was, of course, not to be confused with Frogmore Cottage. And it is undeniably a regal portrait, isn't it, Plum? I mean, there is no doubt there of this is what the future of the monarchy is going to look like. And I think most people would agree that it looks quite good.
I think it looks bloody amazing, actually, Tom. I'd go a bit further than you. You know, I think she looks amazing. He looks very serious. I've noticed that he's looking very serious recently, but he looks statesmanlike. He looks like a king in waiting. He's matured. He's grown into his own. I mean, obviously, on the fashion front, William is incredibly well dressed as well. Let's not forget, these royal men, they really do have access to some incredible uniforms, paraphernalia, medals, the sashes, the jewels. You know, I mean, the white tie, nothing more glamorous than white tie for a man, honestly. And you don't see it very often. That's why it looks so special. And I do think they're a very, very special couple. And I think that they really put themselves together well as a team, at least on the outside.
Yeah.
You know, they look amazing together. They look amazing together.
They do. They do. They do. Okay, moving on to arguably the more Christmassy highlight, which is Princess Catherine's famous Together at Christmas carol service, which took place on Friday last week. Now, this has become a big event. It's become one of those set pieces of the royal Christmas calendar. And of course, the Queen had her set pieces. The most famous was when she, in the run up to Christmas, was when she would get the train down to Sandringham, which was, of course, a very famous moment that no longer will I think that people will be turning up at the train station for that photo. It was always a wonderful photo op and connected the Queen to the people. I think this is Catherine's answer of connecting herself to the people. It's a really popular service. It's replicated in 15 other provincial centres, places like Bristol and Birmingham. There will be corresponding carol services happening at the same time, where they use the same program and they stream in some of the readings. Kate Winslet was one of the people who was reading on this occasion. And here we are. So here are the family arriving. Catherine was obviously there earlier, checking everything with it, and then the kids and William showed up. And of course, at the same time, there was this very tawdry argument going on in California about whether or not Meghan's father had actually had his leg amputated or not. And in comparison to what was going on, it's sort of hard to make more graphic the difference between these two families and how they're conducting themselves and how they perceive themselves and how they want to be perceived. I thought, so we're going to look at a whole load of pictures from the evening. We're going to look at pictures of Catherine, of William, of the kids. We're going to look at pictures of the other attendees there and the general views. And Plum's just going to talk us through some of what's going on here stylistically and aesthetically and sort of in a fashion sense.
Yeah. Well, I think, you know, what's so interesting about Kate is that she says so much without ever talking, you know, and at the moment, because she doesn't really give interviews or talk very much, it's through her clothes. And I think that this beautiful coat dress that she's wearing, which is actually by a British designer called Catherine Walker, who was actually worn a lot by the late Princess of Wales, Princess Diana. You know, Catherine Walker was the ultimate 80s designer for coats, ball gowns, you know, suits, that kind of thing. Just very, very smart clothes that you could rely on, you know, if you were out in public. And then what's interesting is she's got this little Miu Miu tartan skirt underneath. I say little, it's a long skirt. You can see a little glimpse of the tartan skirt, which is really festive and you know, fun and jolly. So she's not being too serious in what she's wearing here. Like for the state dinner, the blue coat was serious. This is a bit more joyful and fun. And then the fake fur collar that she's got, which is by Troy London. Troy London is a very, very small brand. One of the owners is a girl called Rosie Van Cutsum, who is married to Tom, the best friend of William, who I think is called Hugh Van Cutsum.
Hugh, exactly, yeah.
So, so that, you know, it's quite interesting that she's wearing one of her friend's designs. You know, she's supporting a small British brand. Having said that, Troy are an amazing young brand and they're doing really, really brilliant things. She's not wearing it as a favor. She's wearing it because she likes it and they're really good clothes. What have we got coming now? The children.
Yeah, so let's just talk a little bit about the children. So one of the things that is interesting from a kind of news perspective, I suppose, that I'll just talk about for a couple of minutes, just to give you a break, Plum, so that you can catch your breath, is that, of course, part of the reason that Meghan and Harry always said they wanted to leave the United Kingdom was that they could raise their children privately and that they weren't, you know, their privacy wasn't invaded and that kind of stuff. And William and Catherine have taken this different approach of curating how their children are presented, doing it in a controlled way, and trying to give the media enough of a view of them on a sort of semi-regular basis that it destroys the market for illegally taken paparazzi photographs. And in a sense, I think that they very much succeeded. They seem to have quite normal lives. They do the school run. They are, you know, they very much do have regular kind of lives as parents and as children. So it's very interesting, though, when you see them here, it's kind of like that they're in the uniform. They are looking absolutely perfect, absolutely exquisite. and very much the kind of dream of how a sort of slightly quasi-Edwardian dream of how royals and upper class and posh kids are supposed to look, aren't they? At least that's my interpretation. I wonder if yours is the same.
Yes. Well, a technical glitch here, but can you hear me?
Yes. Just ignore it. Keep talking. Okay.
Well,
and it usually catches up with itself.
Yeah. So what I would say about the children is the children are immaculately turned out. So, you know, congratulations to her and her team and whoever's helping, because getting 3 children turned out looking like that, you know, for a huge public event. The hair of Charlotte is all half up, half down with the bow. You know, she looks like one of the characters from Little Lord Fauntleroy, you know, as do the boys. And, you know, they are beautifully turned out in suits and ties. Their hair's immaculate. And it is.
Yeah, sorry. So I think we seem to have some connection problems with Plum. I'm not sure, Plum, whether it's possible if I was to just chat for a few minutes, whether you have an area with maybe better Wi-Fi in the house or something like that. But we're going to hang on and see if we can get Plum back. I mean, look, I thought it was an amazing kind of Plum is back in the studio. Plum, can we ask you if there is a room maybe where you might have a better Wi-Fi or anything like that? Just don't rush. People are well used to a few glitches. Oh, there we are. Yeah, Plum, brilliant. You're back.
It's so weird. Hang on, let me just try.
Yeah. Okay. So, Ben, let's get the pictures back on the screen and let's just go to me.
Is that better?
It is. Let's give it one more try, and if it goes again, we might have to just go to some of the pictures. So Ben, if you could go through the pictures a bit more quickly so that people can get to see them who've tuned in, and we'll try and go back to Plum. Plum, what were you saying there?
I was saying that I think that the way that Charlotte has turned out with that beautiful white collar, it's so reminiscent of the English storybooks, English fairy tales, the navy blue, the little ballet pumps, the tights. And to get all your 3 children turned out, you know, in one moment looking like that with hundreds of people watching, fabulous. You know, so difficult to do. And that beautiful white collar on Charlotte, I mean, she looks amazing. And look at that little girl. She's so excited to meet her. It's so sweet. And of course, Kate's hair, tremendous. There she is with Eugene Levy, who they did the show with, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. And there's Mary Berry, who's obviously the cook, the icon. And Kate looks amazing. She's got little stars on her earrings. That's Kate Winslet. Don't know who that man is, but he's very handsome anyway. But you can see how she really connects with people. I mean, she's a lady di, isn't she? People absolutely adore her, Tom. They adore her. And she never fails to deliver on the fashion front. She looks amazing. And look at the candles that they're all holding. I mean, it's just incredible. Incredible. The choreographing of the whole thing, the stage managing, it's professional. It's not amateurish. And I think that, you know, you were talking about Harry and Meghan. So Harry and Meghan are supposedly brilliant media content creators. Well, they're not creating the kind of content with the messaging that William and Kate are. And I think William and Kate have really upped their game with the social media. I think it's really, really good what they're doing. Really professional.
Yeah, it's really interesting, actually. Yeah, let's just look at that video one more time. So this is the official video released by Catherine and William's official account. So it's actually very interesting if you look at it. This is how they want to portray themselves. And of course, like everybody else on the planet, every other celebrity, what they've discovered is they don't need to be mediated by other people. They don't need to be mediated by the media, right? They can present themselves exactly the way. So this is exactly the way that they want to present themselves. And it's really interesting, the people that they're talking to, the way that they are speaking, the glamorous touch with, at the same time, a sort of down to earthness about it, and yet this sort of, look at that, just freeze there a second.
Yeah, I love it.
Freeze there a second, Ben. I think that is a really interesting, if you actually look at that, yes, exactly. That screen grab right there, if you look at that, that tells you everything you need to know about what how the family see themselves, how they see their role, how they see the part they're going to play in public life. And, you know, part of the secret of being able to, the kids have some kind of private life, is that they're only seen in public in these very formal clothes. And of course, the mistake I think that Harry and Meghan make is that when they show clips of the children, albeit from behind or in three-quarter profile, they're actually the irony is that they're incredibly recognizable, because you know, you don't need to see the whole of someone's face to know what they look like, right? Your brain fills in the blanks. But in a way, because we only see these kids, you know, we only ever have seen these kids in incredibly formal outfits, whether it's, you know, it used to be the knee-high socks, which caused a bit of hilarity, but it's actually a kind of very effective armor in a way, isn't it, Plum? Like to wear these formal clothes for the children, that we, it, in a funny way, it preserves it, we get to know them and we get to see them.
We don't really know what they look like in a pair of jeans.
Yeah.
You know, and I was also going to say what I love about the way that they're presenting themselves is they are presenting themselves as a family. It's 3 children and the mum and the dad. They're not presenting themselves as a commodity. Now, we know they are a commodity. We know they are a business. We know they are the firm. But this looks like a family Christmas card. Like they could send that out next year as the family Christmas card. And wouldn't you be happy to get that, Tom? You know, whereas with Meghan and Harry, obviously there's a much more commercial kind of angle to it because they're selling from what they're doing. But no one's trying to sell anything here apart from family, Christmas spirit. Let's be nice. You know, it's nice, Tom. It's kind. It's generous. It's the right spirit. It's the public. It's not about wearing, you know, gajillion-pound Laura Piana white sweaters to do the cooking in, frankly.
Yeah, yeah. But of course, look, that's always the advantage they're going to have, that everything they do, that Meghan and Harry do, always has this sort of slight taint of the profit motive. And of course, their defenders would say, well, they don't have any choice; they have to make money, etc., etc. And of course, but it does elevate, and it is, of course, the magic of the royals.
Yeah,
of
they're
when
above
Catherine does her big thing. They're above it all. They're above the fray.
Yeah.
They're above the
she's not tagging her outfit on Instagram. You know, she's not tagging her jam on Instagram or whatever it is. She's just wearing what she wants to wear. And that's why she can wear things that aren't new every single time, because she can wear what she wants and she can do what she wants. But having said that, she's always respectful in her clothing and she always wears what's appropriate. I mean, it's very rare now that people are able to criticize what she wears, because she doesn't really get it wrong. And I think, you know, we said before that her official stylist, I think, had left. And I'm wondering if there is someone else there, or if now she's so well versed in what suits her that with maybe an assistant or something to call in the clothes, she's doing it herself. She looks very natural in the clothes. She doesn't look like she's been styled by a designer or helped too much. I mean, I'm sure Sarah Burton, you know, would do a fitting with her when she gets clothes with her, because I know that they're really good friends, you know, after Sarah did the wedding dress and everything. And I'm sure she's got great relationships with those designers and can probably pop into their salons or studios or have them come to her with a rack of stuff and she can put it on. Look, she's got an amazing body. She looks good in everything, doesn't she?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
And she's got a sort of classiness that I would say there's probably no celebrity in the world who has that upper class kind of thing that Kate has going on. She just seems so aristocratic and classy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very unique kind of celebrity that she has, isn't it? I mean, there's no one else really. And also, if you look at the crowd that she can kind of get at, you know, obviously anyone, right, who's invited to that would go. like literally anyone.
I would have gone, Tom, wouldn't you?
Yeah, totally.
Maybe
totally.
he'll invite us next year.
Maybe.
No, I mean, yeah, anyone. I mean, exactly. They can get anyone to help them with anything. And I actually think having Eugene Levy there, is it Levy or Levy? Levy.
Don't know.
I think having him there, you know, he's not a young man. He'd obviously flown over, especially having already come over to do the documentary. He's pretty busy. He's a pretty busy guy. Having him there, I think, was a real stamp of approval from the US as well. You know, from one of the great actors, producers, directors, writers in the US to have him there. And obviously people like Kate Winslet, you know, amazing, amazing.
Yeah, and definitely a good way to get in the Christmas spirit as Christmas bears down upon us. And look at Plum there with her Christmas tree. Thank you so much for joining us today.
When are they broadcasting the carol service, Tom?
Christmas Eve.
Oh, okay.
It goes out on ITV on Christmas Eve, and then it goes out again on Christmas Day.
This is just a preview of the outfits, and we haven't heard the actual service yet.
Exactly.
And is it on the BBC or is it on Netflix? That's what I want to know.
Well, it's actually on ITV because they fell out with the BBC because the BBC did a rather silly thing where they ran a story without double checking it back with the Waleses, and as revenge, the Christmas Together at Christmas carol service is slightly controversially hosted by ITV, and always has been, and it looks like it always will be, because the King's Speech used to always be on the BBC, but is now a revolving thing. Now it's on all the channels, but it's filmed, it's produced 1 year by the BBC, 1 year by Sky News, and 1 year by ITV, and then they pool it and share it. But the Together at Christmas carol service is a pure ITV production. So well done, ITV.
I know, and silly BBC, because they're not having a good time at the moment. They're not being very clever, actually. No. Let's face it.
And that is another story. Plum, thanks very much for joining us. Everybody who's been watching, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Tommy. Oh God, okay, Santa's here. I better go. Bye.